Listen, if you think Game of Thrones was the only medieval bloodshed meets fantasy extravaganza worth your precious weekend binge time, buckle up. There's a whole realm of savage betrayals, gritty alliances, and heartbreakingly gorgeous vistas out there just waiting to overshadow that big hype. Today, I'm revealing 10 historical series so sprawling, so loaded with drama, it feels like someone cranked the intensity dial to 11 and then broke it off. So yeah, grab your metaphoric sword and shield, or at least some popcorn, because we're diving into battle. Nothing like the Roman Empire stomping through Germania to get the blood pumping. Barbarians plunges you into a tension-riddled forest where Arminius, raised by Romans but born a Germanic tribesman, has to decide if he's going to uphold the shiny badge of Roman authority or help his own people rise up. Spoiler, he might choose total rebellion because who doesn't love a classic stick it to the empire moment? Thing is, Arminius's predicament isn't just Romans bad, tribal folk good. The show does a solid job showcasing his emotional turmoil. He's grown up with Roman discipline, but also can't ignore his ancestral roots. Cue old friendships, brewing conspiracies, and a lot of side-eyeing from both Romans and Germans. The final showdown, the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, is a real historical doozy. Let's just say Rome wasn't too thrilled about the outcome. And Arminius went down in the record books as the poster child for giving your old bosses a taste of their own medicine. If you're into gritty ambushes, forest warfare, and intense themes of identity, Barbarians checks all the boxes. Bonus points if you're the type to root for the underdog, because this time the underdog quite literally ambushes the top dog in the thick of the woods. Gore, gladiators, and more gore. If you haven't seen Spartacus, you might want to brace yourself. This show pretty much redefined bloody spectacle, and let me tell you, they did not skimp on the special effects budget. Our guy Spartacus starts out as a captive forced into the arena, but soon becomes the leader of a rebellion that flips Rome the biggest middle finger in history. Along the way, you'll witness friendships tested, alliances formed, and a staggering body count. It's excessive in all the best ways and definitely not for the squeamish. The fight choreography alone is worth the watch, especially if you're one of those who can't look away from slow-motion splatterfests. But behind the fountains of blood, there's a solid storyline about oppression, camaraderie, and what people will do when they're pushed too far. Think freedom, but make it theatrical. The series also isn't shy about diving into the darker side of Roman decadence, so expect politics, intrigue, and more than a fair share of betrayal. If you're into a jaw-dropping, gladiator-style uprising complete with savage plot twists, Spartacus has it all. Emphasis on the all. Ready for a biblical saga that balances spirituality, sword fights, and some morally questionable decisions? House of David charts King David's journey from humble shepherd to the revered, if flawed, ruler of ancient Israel. It's got that iconic slingshot moment, David toppling Goliath with a well-aimed rock, but it doesn't stop there. In fact, that's basically the warm-up act. We see him navigate a king's madness, step into power, and wrestle with his own slip-ups. Looking at you, Bathsheba. The show doesn't just glorify David as a golden child chosen by a higher power. It gives us the raw human side too, like how he struggles with guilt, loyalty, and fatherhood. Add in divine prophecies, family betrayals, and spiritual showdowns, and you've got a story that's one part holy pilgrimage, one part medieval soap opera. Fans of biblical history will love the depth here, and even if you're not the religious type, it's a fascinating look at ancient power politics. Want to see a dude literally go from zero to hero and then back to zero? David's your man, though in fairness, he does plenty of soul-searching along the way. In Rise of Empires, Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II sets his sights on Constantinople like it's the ultimate trophy for his empire's mantle. He's got a strategic mind that'd make modern generals weep, and an army armed to the teeth, ready to reshape the map in his favor. The siege sequences are intense, and intense might be an understatement here. The Byzantine defenders aren't about to hand over their ancient city without a fight either. What makes this show shine is how it marries dramatic reenactments with documentary-style insights. So 1 minute you're gripping your seat with anxiety over the next battering ram assault, and the next you're learning the historical nuts and bolts that made this conquest legendary. Mehmed himself is a compelling figure, driven, ruthless, but also brilliant enough that you kind of can't help but admire his sheer nerve. If you've ever had a mild obsession with epic castle walls, medieval artillery, and cunning war strategies, this one's basically catnip. From the clash of cultures to the unstoppable force meeting the immovable fortress, it's all there, and it's downright riveting. Remember playing Marco Polo in the pool as a kid? Well, this series basically shows you the grown-up version is a whole lot more dangerous. Our Venetian hero, Marco, arrives at Kublai Khan's court and quickly realizes he's in over his head. Between the vast Mongol Empire, court politics, and alliances that shift like quicksand, he's got to learn fast, or get swallowed whole by palace intrigue. Sure, some folks question the show's historical accuracy, but let's be real. The grandeur of the Khan's empire, the epic battles, and the mesmerizing costumes make up for any creative liberties. Plus, who doesn't love a little cultural whiplash? Watching Marco adapt to Mongol customs is half the fun, especially when everyone around him might be plotting his downfall. If you're the type who appreciates lavish production design, dynamic fight scenes, and a dash of East meets West tension, Marco Polo serves it up in spades. Just prepare yourself for some behind-closed-doors maneuvering that might leave you paranoid about your own coworkers. Switching gears to the 19th century American frontier, American Primeval tosses you into a brutal land where survival is a 24/7 job and neighbors might shoot first. Ask questions never. Our main focus is Isaac Reed, an ex-trapper who'd probably kill for a calm retirement, but instead gets caught between settlers pushing west and native tribes defending their homes. There are no squeaky clean heroes here, just folks scrambling to make it through another day by any means necessary. Harsh landscapes, vicious conflict, and questionable morality form the backbone of this series. It might not be your classic romantic Wild West. No John Wayne swaggering around with a white hat. Instead, expect raw authenticity that makes you question humanity's capacity for both cruelty and compassion. If moral gray areas and ruthless standoffs sound like your cup of frontier whiskey, you'll devour this one like a hungry wolf. And trust me, you might never look at a frontier cabin the same way again. Too many places for enemies to hide. Now we hop over to 17th century Japan with Shogun, where John Blackthorne, an English pilot, crash lands in a culture so different from his own that he might as well have landed on Mars. But feudal Japan is no joke, my friends. Warlords eye the shogunate like it's the biggest prize in the land, and one wrong move could get you introduced to the business end of a katana. The show nails the tension of this era, from lethal political alliances to the strict code of honor that can flip from refined politeness to lethal swordplay in 0 seconds flat. Blackthorne has to adapt, fast, if he wants to keep his head attached to his body. And let's be real, the learning curve is pretty steep when you barely speak the language, and your dinner could literally be poisonous fish if you tick off the wrong person. Shogun is mesmerizing and methodical, offering a deep dive into the culture, etiquette, and life-or-death stakes of feudal Japan. If you enjoy watching clueless foreigners rise to the occasion in a brutally elegant world, this is definitely your jam. Feeling that Targaryen itch? House of the Dragon rewinds the Westeros clock a good century before Daenerys and her catchphrase-worthy dragons. This time, the infighting is all about King Viserys' heirs, particularly Princess Rhaenyra and her unpredictable uncle Daemon. Think sibling rivalry, except the siblings come equipped with flying, fire-breathing reptiles. Don't expect sunshine and rainbows, folks. Expect big, scaly creatures spitting flames on unsuspecting armies, royal relatives who might poison each other's lunch, and political backstabbing that'd make Machiavelli raise an eyebrow. If you thought Game of Thrones was the blueprint for dysfunctional families, wait till you see how these Targaryens bicker when there's an Iron Throne on the line. With top-tier visuals, this show is a feast for the eyes, and occasionally a horror show for your nerves. Every time a dragon takes flight, you'll remember that this family's motto could easily be "Fire runs in the blood. Handle with caution." Vikings, the saga that made half the world consider a shaved sides and long top haircut. We follow Ragnar Lothbrok, a humble farmer who decides he'd rather raid kingdoms than till fields, which honestly sounds more exciting. Alongside his fierce wife, Lagertha, yes, she's as badass as her name implies, and his equally fierce brother, Rollo, Ragnar redefines hostile takeover. The show's raw, earthy feel sets it apart. You're not dealing with squeaky clean suits of armor here. You're dealing with folks who probably haven't bathed in a week, but can still muster the strength to conquer entire realms by lunchtime. If you enjoy your historical drama with a side of Norse mythology, Vikings will be your new obsession. From forging alliances with English monarchs to squaring off against rival chieftains, Ragnar's life is essentially a highlight reel of conflict. And trust me, it's not shy about the hardships and heartbreak that come with being a Viking. If you've ever daydreamed about sailing off to uncharted lands with a band of wild warriors, well, watch this show first to see how it really might go down. Yes, you read that right. The Last Kingdom is no longer just an honorable mention. Uhtred of Bebbanburg fans, rejoice. This series plunges you into 9th century England, where Saxons and Danes are locked in a never-ending war for territory, influence, and the occasional bragging rights of who sacked whom last. Uhtred, he's that poor soul stuck in the middle. Born Saxon but raised Viking, so he's got more identity issues than a teenager going through a goth phase. Loyalties get tangled, ambitions collide, and each kingdom's got cunning leaders who'd sell out their own mothers for a shot at the big prize. Compared to Vikings, it's a bit more focused on the evolution of early England under King Alfred's dream of unity. But don't let that fool you. It's still brimming with swords, betrayals, and battles that'll make you want to pick up a wooden shield and join the fray. If you ever wanted to see how the patchwork of Anglo-Saxon kingdoms slowly knit itself into something more unified, with a ton of bloodshed along the way, The Last Kingdom serves it with medieval flair. You'll root for Uhtred, laugh at his sarcastic jabs, and possibly scream at the screen when the politicking gets too intense. And there you have it, 10 epic historical sagas so steeped in tension, betrayal, and well-timed sword swings, you might just forget all about certain dragons we used to obsess over. Kidding, I know you still love them, but you'll love these too, especially if you're into rich storylines, moral dilemmas, and the occasional beheading. Yikes. If you enjoyed this list, or even if you're about to rage quit in the comments, do me a favor and let me know which show you're queuing up first. Drop a like, maybe toss me a subscription if you're feeling generous, and share this with that one friend who's still sulking about the Game of Thrones finale. Believe me, they'll thank you for the new binge-worthy obsession. But hey, if you're still nursing a grudge over any rankings, vent away.